We throw the word stress around all the time. We're stressed at work, stressed about money, but what if I told you stress isn't really what's happening to you? It's something else entirely. So let's spend the next few minutes really digging into the science of our body's most basic survival response. So, have you ever noticed this? You just grind through an absolutely brutal week. Final exams, a massive project at work, you name it. You're running on pure adrenaline. And the second you finally get to stop, bam, you get a cold. Why on earth does our body decide to betray us the moment we finally relax? Well, there's a fascinating biological reason for it, and by the end of this, you are going to understand exactly why that happens. Okay, this right here is probably the single most important idea we're going to talk about. Stress is not the event itself. It's not the traffic jam. It's not the angry email from your boss. Stress is what your brain does with that information. It really comes down to the story you tell yourself about what's happening. And that's the key distinction, right? It's not something out there that's happening to you. It's an internal process, how we first size up or appraise an event, and then how we respond to it. Just separating the event from our reaction to it, that one little shift changes everything. Yeah, and this slide just lays it out perfectly. The event is exactly the same for both people, a creaky floorboard in the middle of the night. But look at the internal appraisals. One person thinks, just the house settling, and stays totally calm. The other person's brain screams, intruder, and their alarm bells go off. So see, the sound itself didn't create the stress. It was the meaning you gave that sound that did. All right, so if our brain's appraisal is what pulls the trigger, what kinds of events, or what we call stressors, are most likely to set off that alarm in the first place? Well, it turns out they come in all shapes and sizes, and you might be surprised to find out that some of them are actually, well, positive. Most of us think of stress as just a bad thing, right? And that's what scientists call distress. But this brilliant researcher, Hans Selye, he pointed out there's another kind, eustress. And this is the stress that comes from amazing, positive life events. Think about it. Planning a wedding, getting that huge job promotion. These are good things, but biologically, your body still has to adapt to the change. And that process of adapting is a form of stress. So, psychologists basically break these stressors down into three big buckets. First, you've got the huge, unpredictable stuff, the catastrophes. Then there are the significant life changes, both the good ones and the bad. And finally, the one we all know way too well, the daily hassles. And hey, don't sleep on that last one. It's so easy to brush off, but that constant low-level drip, drip, drip of traffic, long lines, and time pressure, man, over time, that can wear you down just as much as one big event. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. Once your brain decides something is a threat, and it doesn't matter if it's a looming deadline or, an actual tiger, it flips this universal hardwired switch. It activates a powerful alarm system that is pretty much identical in every single one of us. And the guy who really mapped all this out for us was that same endocrinologist, Hans Selye. He discovered that our bodies go through this very predictable three-stage sequence whenever we're adapting to a stressor. He gave it a name, the General Adaptation Syndrome, or for short, GAS. So Selye broke it down into three stages. First up, alarm. This is your classic fight or flight response, where your heart starts pounding and your body mobilizes all its resources. Next, if that stressor sticks around, you enter resistance. Your body is just all in. You're fully engaged, running at full capacity to meet the challenge. But, and this is the critical part, this can't last forever. It's like holding a super heavy weight over your head. Eventually, your muscles give out, your resources get totally depleted, and you collapse into stage 3, exhaustion. And that exhaustion stage, that's where chronic stress gets really, really dangerous. See, our bodies are built for short, intense bursts of stress, like, run from the tiger, then rest. They weren't designed for the kind of low-grade, 24/7 stress that so many of us live with now. When that alarm bell is just constantly ringing, the whole system doesn't just get tired, it starts to burn out. And this brings us full circle, right back to that question we started with. Why do you get sick the moment the big project is over? It's because when you're in that exhaustion phase, stress hormones are flooding your system, and they actively suppress your immune system. They literally tell your body's frontline defenders, these awesome cells called natural killer cells, to stand down. And with your defenses offline, you are a sitting duck for any bug going around. This is also why long-term stress is tied to so many serious health problems, from heart disease to a higher risk for certain cancers. Okay, I know that all sounds pretty grim, but here's the good news, and it's really good news. We are absolutely not powerless here. Because if stress is all about our response, well, that means we can learn to change our response. We can actually build our own personal stress toolkit to manage it. And a good place to start is just by knowing yourself, your own tendencies. You've probably heard of these, right? The super competitive, always in a hurry type A, or the more relaxed, easygoing type B. But the one I really want you to pay attention to is the hardy personality. Because this isn't just about who you are, it's a mindset you can build. Hardy people feel like they're in control. And most importantly, they consistently see stressors as challenges to be overcome, not as threats. And that little switch in perspective, it changes everything. No matter what your personality is like, when it's time to actually do something about stress, we've all basically got two moves. First, there's problem-focused coping. This is where you go straight at the source of the stress. Like if you're struggling in a class, you form a study group, you try to fix the problem. But sometimes you can't fix the problem, right? That's when you use emotion-focused coping. You work on managing your own reaction to it, like just calling up a friend to vent. And honestly, the real skill is knowing which tool to pull out of the bag and when. All right, so let's get practical. Let's actually build that toolkit. Social support, it's not just nice to have, it's like a biological shield against stress. Humor? Seriously, laughing actually boosts your immune system. Meditation and relaxation, those directly hit the off switch on that physical alarm system we've been talking about. And that hardy mindset, you can practice that. You can train yourself to reframe problems as challenges. And of course, all of this works way better when it's built on a solid foundation of good food and exercise. So let's end with this. Your stress response, it isn't your enemy. It's this ancient, incredibly powerful survival tool that's literally baked into your DNA. The only real question is, in this crazy modern world we live in, are you going to master that tool or are you going to let it master you? The choice and the power to change is entirely yours.